I'm Tracy from the Island Sewing Cat, and I'm going to show you how to make one of the most popular bags, which is our Isla Bag. So it's this bag here. It's a really great one because you've got inside pocket, you've also got magnetic clips on the front, 2 magnetic clips. It's a really easy one to make, so it's going to be great whether you're a beginner or whether you're an advanced sewing, just want to do some scrap busting. It's great for all of that. It's got a strap that you can wear on one shoulder, or you can wear it across the body, however you prefer. And so yeah, it's great for, say, dog walking. You can even put a tablet in there. It's good for travel, and you can fold it up as well afterwards. So it's called our Isla Bag. To start with, you're going to say have your pattern, which is full scale, so you don't need to do any enlarging or anything like that. You've got your full scale pattern, and lay that onto your fabric to cut it out. With all our patterns, it will tell you how much fabric you're going to need, and we always recommend using a heavyweight fabric on the outside, and we're going to use a regular cotton on the inside. Cotton's always great for sewing, so we've got a lighter one on the inside and a heavyweight cotton on the outside. That way we don't need any heavy interfacings to strengthen the bag. The only thing we will need is a little piece of interfacing to put behind where our magnetic clips are going to go, and that's going to be the first step that we're going to do in this bag. So you cut it all out, you say, using the pattern, just pin it on and cut all those pieces out, and then take 2 5cm pieces squares of interfacing and iron that onto the back of the bag in the position where the straps, where the clips are going to go. Now it does mark on the pattern exactly where those clips are going to go, so you're going to mark that out and put, say, your 5cm piece of interfacing and iron that in place. Then we're going to take our magnetic clips. So you're going to have 2 of these smaller discs. You're going to have one of this, which is the female side, and then we also have the male side as well, which is like this one here. So on the main bag, we're going to put our big clips here, the main big part of it. So lay your disc in the position where the clips are going to go. Take your pen, this is a vanishing marker pen, and you can just mark in those 2 little cutouts that are in the disc, and then you've got your 2 lines. And then we're just going to use 2 small snips. They just need to be big enough to put the prongs through, so don't make them too big. The easiest way is to fold that in half and then just do 2 small snips with your scissors, like this and like this. Okay, that just cuts it there, so make sure they're not too big. And then you're going to put your clip onto the right side, because that's how we want it to look on our bag. Poke the prongs through to the wrong side, and then pop the disc over the top through those 2 prongs there, and then fold the prongs inwards like that. You fold over nicely. And then you're going to repeat that with the other one, so that on your front panel you have your 2 female pieces. They're going to look like that. And then we're going to do exactly the same with the flap bit, and they're going to go onto the lining this time. So do the same thing, mark them out where they're shown on the pattern and put on your other side of the clips like that. So that's our flap bit. Okay, so our clips are in place, so what we're going to do now is to start making the bag. I'm going to start with the pocket. So I'm going to take my 2 pocket pieces, they're all labelled, it's a good idea just to put little labels on it as you go along so you don't get confused. But take your 2 pocket pieces, and we want to put it right sides together. So we have the right side facing up, you see I'm doing this cute little puffing fabric, and then I'm going to put the lining fabric on top, so we've got the right side facing down, so 2 right sides together. And I'm going to stitch along this top edge here. So we're going to do just our knotting at the beginning. So to do a knot on the sewing machine, you just go forward and backwards a few stitches just to knot it and fasten it in. So you go forwards and backwards, always down, all the way down to the end. You would at home put a few pins in this just to hold that. Do a little reverse knot at the end and then cut your threads off. So yeah, normally you would pin it, but I know these fabrics aren't going to move, so I'm just doing it without pinning. Then we can open it up, and then at home you would give that a nice press, and then we're going to fold that over so the lining is now onto the inside, like that. I'm going to stitch along this top edge here. So we're going to do top stitching. So I'm going to stitch a bit closer to the edge this time, because the top stitching is just holding the lining in place. So we can stitch however far or close you want to, but I think it's quite nice to do like a 5mm top stitching. So our bag normally has a 1cm seam allowance, so you're going to stitch away from the edge by 1cm. It's all marked on the pattern, all in the instructions for you, and the seam allowances are included in the pattern, so you don't need to worry about it. Just when you're stitching, make sure that you're doing a 1cm. Apart from here, we're going to do just that little bit of top stitching. So that's your pocket done. And then I'm going to put that pocket into place on my lining. So this is our main lining pieces. So if you keep them all labelled, it makes it a bit easier. I'm going to lay that one on top there. like that. And I'm just going to put a couple of pins to hold that. So I'm going to do one that side, and then we're going to do one the other side there. So that holds our lining into place. Then I'm going to take our other lining panel, put that one on top, again right sides together, and we're going to stitch around this. Now I'm going to stitch down the 3 sides, but leaving an opening at the bottom. So we always need to leave our top edge open, obviously, so that we can get into the bag. So we're going to stitch down here, along here, then I'm going to stop, leave that opening at the bottom, and then carry on from here and up the other side, stopping here. So down and along to there. So I'll just whiz that through the machine now. Put that on there. Keeping all your raw edges together. So then going back to doing that 1 centimetre seam allowance. Just going to take that pin out, stuck in the way there, put that one down and away. Down to the bottom and then stop. Pivot the corner, and come back around. Stop in there, going forwards and backwards for our knot. So let's reinforce, take that out and then start again here. Now forwards and backwards, down, stopping at the corner, pivoting around, coming back up this way. And stopping at the end. So that'll be our lining done. Then we just want to add, I'm going to do some box corners on that. So the box corners just give the bag a little bit of shape. So what I'm going to do is put my hand inside and I'm going to fold those corners. So cross fold your corners. You have to make sure that you've got your pocket all staying to one side. So with the pocket all stuck to that side, I'm going to put my finger in and pull across a corner like this and stitch across, so I can feel both sides of my pocket are on this side, and this one's a lot thinner because I've only got my line in this side, none of the main puffet fabric. What we're going to do is stitch across 3 centimetres from the top, so we're just going to stitch down here. At home, you would always mark this out. Okay, I'm just doing it roughly just to give you an idea. But always at home, just take a vanishing marker pen or mark it with some pins. And now do exactly the same on the other corner. Again, making sure that that pocket is staying to the same side so that we don't, otherwise when you put your hands in, you're going to struggle to find the pocket. One corner will fold it one way and one will go the other. All the way across, like that. Take that. Now you'll see, when I turn this the right way around, put your hand inside, like that. What that does is those corners have just given it that little bit of shape here, okay, there and there. So then that's what gives it, yeah, a little bit of depth to the bag. So that's our inside done. I'm going to do the same on the outside. So I'm going to take my 2 main panels, like that, right sides together. If you've got a directional print like this, obviously you need to make sure that it's running the right way. Don't do one up, one down. So make sure you've got the 2 going the same way. And we're going to repeat that. Now this time we don't need to leave an opening. We've left an opening in the lining because we'll use that to turn it out, what we call bagging it out, but we don't need to on the main. So on the main I'm just going to stitch down this side, across the bottom and up the other side like that. We've stitched around the 3 sides. And now I'm going to do the same thing, same corners. We haven't got the pocket to worry about this time, so we're just going to fold the corners like that and do those little box corners. So folding them and then stitching across. Forwards and backwards at the beginning, and then forwards and backwards at the end. So pin this and do mark that to make sure that you're doing a nice even box corner. Same on this side here. Make sure you're using really good quality fabrics. It does make a difference. One, it's easy to sew with. You can unpick it if you go wrong. We can not worry about having to put interfacing or expensive bag liners inside, fusible fleece type thing. We can just do it in regular fabric and we know it's going to wash and wear well. So when I turn that the right way around, you'll see we've then got the same thing as little box corners. Okay, so that's that. Then we're going to do a flap. So this is the front flap of the bag. So we put our 2 right sides together as always. So one lining, and this is our main fabric, and we're going to put those face down. You'll notice I've already cut the corners over. Don't worry, your pattern will be a square, so ignore those little cut out corners and just put it like that with the two right sides together. And on the flat we're going to stitch down, across and back up. So we're heading down towards the magnetic clips and back up there, and they're the three sides that you want to stitch. And make sure you've got it laid up that way. Again, directional print as well, and that. So you want to come down, across and back up. So I'm going to pop that one back under the machine, and away we go. So it's a nice quick bag, this one. It's not a difficult one to do. Really good as a beginner project. And really nice one for presents for people. Everyone seems to love a bag. Put that one down, stitching down here. Just be a little bit careful when you hit the magnetic clips so you don't get too close to those. Back inside. Do your knot as always, forwards and backwards with your knot. Begin and end. Take that one up. And then I'm going to turn the flap the right way round. Now on your corners, do snip across the corners like I've done on here, so you'll notice that they've now been cut off. Put your thumb inside, fold those corners over nicely, like that towards yourself, and then you can just pull those through. You'll find you've got a nice square corner. So like that, and like that, and poke that through. There. Then at home, just give that a quick press all the way around. And again, I'm going to top stitch this because it's quite nice to do. So I'm just going to switch that over. And what I'm doing here is I am going to move my needle position so that I've now got my needle on the sewing machine in the middle, because I want to stitch a bit closer. So at the moment I had it set with the needle to the left and I was doing a 1 centimetre seam allowance. But instead of moving the position of my fabric when it's under the machine, I'm just going to move my needle over. Makes it a bit easier. But you can do it the other way as well. So if you don't have that facility on your machine to move the needle position, don't worry, just move your fabric over so it's a bit closer to the edge. Because if you top stitch too close, you're going to have hit these magnetic clips, which we don't obviously want to do. And coming down and top stitching these three sides here on the flap. So that's just top stitch all the way around these three sides here. I've done it with a large stitch just so it's easy for you guys to see and makes it a bit quicker for me to sew for your demonstrations. Now we're going to put all the bag together now. So we've got, this is our main panel, and what I want to do is pin the strap on. So I'm going to take my strap panel like this. Make sure you've got a really nice heavy duty strap in as well for your bags. We do sell it online at Amazon Cat if you need some. Take that, pin it in place. So we want it to go over the side seams here. So keep it over that, halfway with the seam in the middle. Put 2 pins one side. Make sure your strap's not twisted. Go all the way around, making sure it's nice and flat like that. And then pin the other side. And pop that one in. And pin there. And there. Okay. So that keeps that bag, that strap, nicely in place. Then I'm going to pin the flap into place. So flip your bag over like that, take the flap, and we want it to be face down. So we always look at our right sides being together, exactly the same with the flap. This is going to go into position here because it will then flip over onto the front when the bag's turned through. So to make it right, we're going to pin it onto the back here. Make sure that you've got it central. We can do that by making sure it's in between those two straps, equal distance at the top. If you're worried, you can measure it, or you can obviously fold the flap in half and fold the bag in half to find the centre and line those two up. And then when you've got those in line, then you know that that's going to be centred. Make sure all your raw edges are together and pin that in place. So that's our bag like that. Our straps are in place and our flap's in place on the back. Then I'm going to take the line in. I'm going to turn it back so it's this way around, because we always want right sides of our fabric together. And on the pocket, to be at the back of the bag, so when I open it, it's on that side. So therefore I'm going to put the pocket side against the back of this bag. I'm going to put all of this inside, like that. Put that in there, including your strap. So absolutely everything is inside your bag. So there is no strap shown on the outside, like that. And I'm going to line up all these seams. So I want to line up our main fabric with the seam on the lining. Put some pins in it. Coming around and doing the same on here. So line up our lining and our main fabric. And then I'm going to put a few more just on that open edge at the top. All the way around. So one there. And there. And this is really going to hold it nicely to make sure it doesn't slip, because especially on the back we've got a lot of layers going through. One here and one there. Right. And what I'm going to do is to stitch all the way around this whole top edge. So place it under your machine like that, and then we can go. Going to go back to our normal seam allowance, so back to our 1 centimetre seam allowance. Just going to increase the length of the stitch. The only reason I'm doing the length of the stitch is just for the demonstration purposes, to make it a bit quicker. But for you guys at home, make sure that you're stitching with a 2.5 seam allowance is millimetre stitch, right? That is a really good one to use. So 2.5, and that'll be a nice tight stitch for you. All the way around. And then eventually you'll come back to the beginning where you started from. Okay, go over your stitching a little bit to make sure that you've got that stitching overlapped and that there's no holes. Forwards and backwards to do your knot, and cut threads, and take your fabric out like that. Take up pins all the way around, and then we can turn it the right way around. Now there will still be a few pins on the inside from where we had the flap in and the strap, so just be careful you don't hurt yourself on those. And we've got that opening that we left in the lining earlier, and we can just push that whole bag through like that. We can remove the other pins, so these were the ones that we left earlier. And there, we can fit another little one on the inside, so I'm just going to take that on now. Make sure that all of your pins are out, otherwise you'll be breaking yourself when you use your bag. No. So this is the bottom of our lining. So we've still got that hole that we've just used for turning out. So fold those raw edges in like that, give it a quick press, and then I'm going to stitch across here, close to the edge. You can obviously do this by hand if you want to, but when you buy a bag in the shop, it's going to be done by machine, so let's just do it by machine. It's going to be down on the inside of your bag, right at the bottom. Forwards and backwards, cut the threads, and you'll see then that we've got that nice neat line here. So that's our lining, and then I can push that one back inside our bag. Like that. So then our bag is done, the lining's done. What you need to do is give it a quick press, and then also we're going to top stitch around this edge here. So I'm going to go back, I'm going to make my stitch width a bit narrower, and then we're going to top stitch all the way around that edge, because that will hold that lining nicely in place. When you're top stitching, always start on a point where you're not going to see it. So always start on the back, just to give you a chance to make sure you've got everything lined up. So I'm just holding the lining out of the way and stitching around the top edge of the bag, and it gives it a nice professional finish. It means the lining will stay in place, and also it means that when you wash it, when it comes out, that lining is nicely held all the way around. So I always recommend that you do give this a press first. It's always nice to do that. All around, and then eventually again you will get back to the beginning. So going around in a circle, all the way around, and we're back to the beginning. Take that one out, and then the bag is done. So you've got a nice inside pocket there. This one will just flip over. It's great for storage. really easy professional bag. There you go. I hope you enjoy making your bag. So if you want the pattern, just go to almasewingcat.com. You'll be able to get the pattern from there. We also have a stock of fabrics as well, and sometimes kits available too. Any problem, just give us a shout. All right, have fun making your lovely bag. Thank you.